Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nona from thealignlover.com. I have another video in my intro to the Kibbe system series. We are looking at the gamines, the juxtaposition of yin with yang. If you want more context, I did a video on the extremes of yin and yang with the romantics and dramatics. I also did the moderation of yin with yang with the classics. So definitely check those out. Let's just briefly go over the basic ideas that are the foundation of the Kibbe system. So this system uses the spectrum of yin and yang to assess three main aspects of one's silhouette. Those aspects are size, height, scaling, overall proportion, frame, your bone structure, your skeleton, your bones, and flesh, your muscle, your tissue, what goes over that frame. And the why is to find the best way to reinforce those patterns and have them reflected in your outfit as opposed to balancing the silhouette or imposing false shapes onto one's figure. Because we are looking at the juxtaposition of yin and yang, let's just briefly go over extreme yin and yang. So for romantics, pure yin, Liz Taylor over here, she's yin in scaling, small, petite, compact, very short. She's yin in frame, her bones are very sloped, soft, gently wide, rounded, delicate. And her flesh is yin. She's very soft, rounded, supple. She's got more curvature, especially throughout the chest and the hips, with a more narrow waist. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have dramatics, pure yang, with Katharine Hepburn as example. She's young in size. She looks tall, elongated, larger, more statuesque. She's young in frame. Her bones are more angular, broad, elongated, larger, sharper. And her flesh is yang. She's more firm, musculature, sleek, and lithe. All right, so let's start off with the soft gamines and the gamine family. Gamine with romantic undercurrents. And please remember that the gamine family exists on a spectrum. It's not a binary, so you have to figure out your specific position along the spectrum, and you're going to have to adjust what you need in terms of where you are on that spectrum. So here we have Bette Davis and Judy Garland as our examples. Let's go over the three aspects. Soft gamines are yin in size and scaling. They can be up to 5'5" tall. No matter how slender or thin they are, they just have a very petite overall look to them. They are slightly yang in frame. They have a bit of angularity, broadness, sharpness, angular edges, but they have more delicacy, especially with their facial bones. And they're yin in flesh. They have a little bit more curvature, especially through the bust and the hips with a smaller waist. No matter how slender they are, they have that gentleness to their upper limbs, and they have that yin quality to their face. Generally, they have kind of larger, rounder, doll-like eyes, softer, more compact, rounded contours to their face, bigger facial features relative to their overall face shape and size, and more rounded features. On the other end of the gamine family, we have flamboyant gamine, gamine with a dramatic or yang undercurrent. Though they are still yin in scaling, they are a little taller, up to 5'6" tall. Their frame is more yang. They're more broadly angular, square shoulders, longer limbs. They tend to be slightly wider overall, with a more streamlined, straighter torso, and their facial contours tend to be a little bit more sculpted and chiseled and broad rather than delicate and more rounded. They're also more yang in flesh. They're more lean, naturally defined, or musculature generally, and they tend to have a little bit more straightness throughout the hips and bust. All right, so let's look at some of the gamines in a row. See the spectrum with the soft gamines. Judy Garland, very petite at 4'11". Still, you see that angularity and that softness. Debbie Reynolds, 5'2", softly angular, lots of nipping, tailoring, or tapering throughout her silhouette with that softness. And Bette Davis, same thing. All of them have that special kind of doll-like quality to their faces. Their eyes are a little bit larger and rounder, more compact, delicate, shorter contours, and bigger facial features compared to the space of their face. Flamboyant Gamines, we have Tina Turner at 5'4", known for her amazing defined legs despite being slightly petite. Bonnie Franklin, not as well defined, again, spectrum, but we still see that straightness, that elongation, that streamlined nature. Liza Minnelli, very long limbs, streamlined torso, and they all have that sculpted quality to their face. Now for some modern examples for the soft gamines, all of these ladies are 5'3". I am also 5'3", and a soft gamine as well. We have Fannie Way Newton. She's very lean and slender, but you can still see that gentleness to her upper limbs and that slight roundness to the bones in her face. We have that curved bust line and hip, smaller waist, more angular bone structure. Audrey, same thing going on, just a little more delicate than Thandue. And then we have Winona Ryder, the slightly more broad, sharper shoulders, more tapered torso, more curved bust, waist, and hips. Doll face. Then we have the Flamboyant Gamines. You can see all of them just look a little bit taller, elongated, wider, and broader than the soft gamines. They're more streamlined, a little bit more muscular than the soft gamines, and they have that sculpted, chiseled quality to their face, more elongated contours. All right, so how do you accommodate these gamines? Starting off with the soft gamines, you want to put them in rounded but crisp shapes, form-fitted, as opposed to very flowing. You want some sharpness, tapering, nips and tucks to reflect their own tapering, sharpness, nips and tucks. And that staccato broken line, they get super obscured by continuous spans of plain fabric. So here we're seeing that sharpness, tapering, staccato, silhouette, a little bit of roundness, good contrast. Soft gamines look great with pattern on pattern. It looks fun and animated on them as opposed to super cluttered, and body skimming. How do you accommodate flamboyant gamines? You want to give them angularity, geometrics, linearity, sharp edges. You want to keep it body skimming and sculpted, also structured. Throw in asymmetry, irregularity, geometric details, and again, a staccato broken line. They can handle more sleekness, elongation, exaggeration, and sharpness relative to the soft gamine. So here, a little bit more broadness and tailoring throughout the shoulder, more elongation throughout these lovely flare legs. Here, more sharp sense of geometrics, bolder shapes, and here, more daring kind of angularity. All right, so how do you not accommodate these gamines? For the soft gamines, you're going to put them in something very clingy with an emphasis on elongation, soft fluidity, flowiness, gently body skimming, with continuous spans of fabric, no sharpness, no perkiness, no sense of lift. And for the flamboyant gamines, you're going to put them in something really unconstructed, wide, very loose or very clingy, with more round or plain lines, and a very blended approach as opposed to a strong staccato silhouette. All right, for some modern examples, how do you accommodate the soft gamine? Reese Witherspoon is a great example, especially if you like a more accessible style. She's a busy mom. She really knows how to dress her body in very decisive ways. So she's a great style study. You can see the staccato silhouette going on, the well-formed, crisp shapes, the strategic tapering, sharpness, nipping, tucking. Winona Ryder over here. This dress has all of these different aspects. So we have the formed, more crisp kind of shoulder line and accurate sleeves. We have that tapering throughout the torso, waist emphasis. The skirt is very different in shape than the rest of the dress, so it's not creating that one continuous line. For the Flamboyant Gamines, we have Zoe in this more sculpted kind of blazer, a little bit of geometry, angularity, elongation, especially with these lovely high-waisted straight jeans here, a little bit more heaviness in the details with these metals, richer, slightly more luxe fabric choices. Then we have Penelope, more geometrics, more elongation, more sleekness, not as much roundedness. And how do you not accommodate these modern soft fit means? You're going to put Reese in something very wide, flowy, with large angular details. She's going to get lost in that. You're going to put Winona in something very long, fluid, drapey, no structure. You're going to put Zoe in something very thin and perky and softly voluminous with no sleekness, no elongation, no angularity. And you're going to put Penelope in something very boxy and wide and continuous with no sense of body skimming, just totally obscuring. All right, so that was it for today's video. Again, this is just an intro to the Kibbe system series, a little bit more generalized. If you want more nuanced, definitely check out my profiling videos where I focus on one individual and go over much more detail. So in the next video, I'll go over naturals, and I'll see you then. Bye.